see it. Because it has now become a bread and butter of every corporate place that you go to. You're generally asked to make presentations and give presentations. So what are some of the things that you can keep in mind? We'll just quickly go through that, and then we'll say goodbye for the semester, actually, rather, if you call it. Just hold on. Okay, so if you look at this chart that I have put, this kind of diagram that I put in front of you, these are some of the key areas which makes a really good presentation. And if you look at the left and the right part of it is entirely depends on you as a person. It's a thing that you can work on. No, sorry, I'm sorry. The one on this side, if you can see the location and seating, handouts, room layout, this is a part of preparation. But before that, we go to the left and we see that the most important thing in a presentation is that why are you making that presentation? What is the purpose of that presentation? And it is the relevance of the content. You can't talk about outdated content anytime. You cannot talk about content that's at least 3 to 4 years old. You need to be relevant in your content. That is the first thing. If these two are there, that appropriacy for the group is audience analysis. Who is your audience? Is it a faculty group? Is it a student group? Is it why are you giving the presentation? Who are you giving it to? So if you're giving it to a client and you know that the client, we need to know the nature of the client. So I have 2 to 3 examples which when we worked on certain projects, we had a very specific experience, actually bad experience with clients. Like we went for a client meeting a few years ago, and when I was working with IM itself, we had gone for a client meeting, and we prepared a nice presentation, everything. So the secretary said that sir will meet you in his office in around 10-15 minutes. So please be seated. We said okay. We'll meet in the conference room. They said, okay, very good. So we said, our PPT is ready, rakna, hum jaake jaise shuru karenge. The man came out, he said that, yes, we had gone to talk about a particular project to him, which I was doing, and we wanted his time. They said, see, I don't have too much time on all this. Can you very quickly, I give you 5-10 minutes, just very quickly tell me what is it that you want to present? Very quickly, just tell me. So if you said, so we have a PPT presentation with us, no, give it to, just mail the PPT to me, I'll see it. I don't want to know all that. You just tell me the gist of your argument, and that's it. So it was fortunate that all of us had actually crammed the presentation, seeing that okay, slide 1 में ये आएगा, slide 2 में ये आएगा, slide 3 में ये है, फिर ये argument, फिर ये data है, फिर ये है, ये सब हम सबने रट के रखा हुआ था. That was a good thing. Otherwise, what would have happened is that it would have been a major handicap if the PPT could not be run. He said, you give me the PPT, I'll look at it. But you tell me what is the main idea of what you want to say. So the next 5 minutes, all of us managed to just get ourselves together and just said what we wanted to say. He said, okay, fine, I'll get back to you. So this happens at times that you make a great presentation, you work day in and day out, you make all slides, you make all everything ready, and the client is not in a mood to listen immediately to your presentation. They say that, okay, now you tell me what is the major thing that you want to present. That's it. I don't have time for all this. Aisa bhi hota hai. So what I'm saying is that your appropriacy to the particular context that you're into, कि कैसा आदमी है, कैसा group है, इन सब पे depend बहुत करता है. Now there are people who pick mistakes in your PowerPoint presentation as well. Like if your PowerPoint presentation has some language errors, they may say this language doesn't seem to be correct. What you made is a mistake. But many of them don't care. Just present karo, jao. Okay, ठीक है. So that is one. And second is when you go to present, you need to have the latest content with you. I'm going to make a presentation before a client. That the data that I have with me on the industry is around. If I'm presenting it in 2021, I should have. If I don't have much, at least I should have 2020 तक का data होना चाहिए मेरे पास. 2021 छोड़ दो. 2020 का data मेरे पास होना चाहिए. Because if it doesn't happen, the person who is sitting in front of you will immediately ask, okay, this data is 2018. Do you think that this is too dated? It's a dated presentation. There's much more that has happened after 2018-19. So you need to know. So these are certain things. Body language we'll come to later. It's a topic that has been discussed quite a lot. Energy level. Your energy is the energy which you can throw at people. So if you're dull, if you are non-confident, if you're a person that अरे सब कुछ नहीं ऐसा करके आप घूमते हो, then the presentation will fall flat. Even if you're not feeling that well or you're feeling tired, in front of a client presentation, you should put up your maximum energy. Show of energy is very important there. That will come from your enthusiasm for the subject. Okay, I'm going to make it. This is just another client presentation. I just want the client to listen to my topic. I'm anyway not interested much. It will be reflected. आपके presentation में वो चीज reflect होना शुरू हो जाएगी कि okay, ये आदमी कुछ कर नहीं रहा है खासकर because ये ऐसे ही आके presentation देके जा रहा है. Your enthusiasm. That I really want you to listen to me. I really want you to talk to me. मेरा एक बहुत interesting subject है and I want you to listen to me. That increases your knowledge level, that the level of energy that you can throw at people. Now, your manner and tone, we all know that you should not have a flat tone. It should be variation. You should be increasing it, reducing it, emphasizing all these things. Now, the three things that I want you to focus on, बाकी सब लोग discuss थोड़ा करेंगे, is this is something that you would require when you go for your clients or whenever you go for a meeting, is in the location and seating, handouts, and room layout. Again, my experience with presentations has been that my teachers have, and my people who have been working with my mentors have always said that it doesn't matter if you have a PowerPoint presentation prepared and everything, carry at least 4 handouts, that is printouts, single side printout of the PPT with you. बाद में say you want to tear it off, throw it away, you have seen that it's a waste of paper, fine, no problem. But at least when you go for a presentation, you should have 4 copies ready with you. Good, nicely made copies. The logic is that the 2 copies, 2 and 2 4, so 2 copies are for the most important people in that panel. Say for example, a person who is going to fund your project, uske liye एक copy hai. Dusra copy is someone who is really important, you know the person, so you can give it to that person. They are the only people who will be reading the PPT, looking at it, finding out, okay. You keep one copy.
The decision maker and the influencers, so to say.
Yeah. So you will know who they are. They should have 1 copy each. You don't need to give it to them, but you should keep it ready because you don't know. Technology can cheat. If you have a PowerPoint presentation in front of you, if you have a thing in front of you, good, make the presentation. What if you go there and you find out that the system is not working or they don't have the time for it? Let's say PowerPoint presentation is something that takes time, 10 to 15 minutes to लगते ही हैं PowerPoint presentation बनाने में and दिखाने में, बोलने में, because you're also talking along with that. So that takes time. So people maybe they don't have time. Second, the PowerPoint presentation may not work on a particular system or they don't have a system. So it is important to know the location and the seating. For example, you think that, okay, I'll upload it on the drive and I'll not take a pen drive with me. I'll upload it on the drive. I'll download it there. You go there, you find it is a remote location. There's no internet connection there. So the internet power that there is a low frequency, which is, there are many places which have that. So you think that I'll download it from the drive. They say that sir, यहाँ पे internet इतनी अच्छी तरह से काम नहीं करता. You're done. So it's always important to carry handouts. So 2 handouts for those people who are the influencers and the people who you think are really important to your presentation. 1 copy is for the audience. So there might be people who are sitting there. You can circulate 1 copy, let them just go around, look at it. They want to look at it, but they don't generally look at it. They just have it in front of them. Some of them might go through it and then pass it on. The 1 copy, so I've got 4. So 2 copies for the influencers, 1 copy is for the audience, and 1 copy is for you. Because when you make a presentation, ideally you're following a certain logic. Okay, ये copy ऐसा होना चाहिए, ऐसा होना चाहिए, ऐसा होना चाहिए. So if you keep a copy with you, then that's optional. If you remember your PPT, very good. But generally, if you keep the PowerPoint with you, you can walk through them in case there is no electricity or there are technological issues or something. So the use of handouts is very important in terms of a presentation. Room layout, location and seating, I already mentioned. Seating. Are the audience, a particular conference room, every conference room is not going to be the same. It's going, or a room where you're going to make a presentation is not going to be the same. It could be a straight classroom, just like you have in your DevStar classrooms. It could be a semicircular classroom. It could be a step classroom, like 1 by 1 is just going up, like an amphitheater kind of a room. If you're making a presentation in front of a big audience, it might be something like that. It could be a round table, oval table, that kind of a thing. Everything determines the kind of people whom they're going to sit and what are the people going to sit. It may be an authority, it may be things. So you need to know the location, you need to know the power plug, you need to know several things there. It's always considered that when you're going to make a presentation anywhere, need to know the place first. कि कौन सी जगह है, क्या मैं move कर पाऊंगा? Because if you are a person who moves a lot, मतलब बातें करते करते आपको movement पसंद है, then there are times when the seating and the room layout is in such a way that there is a computer or a laptop and there is a podium, and that's it. So there's a podium on which the system is kept, and you can use that pointer, but instead of, you will not be finding it very comfortable to use the pointer because there are a lot of wires lying around, you might trip or not. So you're stuck to the podium. So it's difficult for you to move around much. So you need to change your way of presentation accordingly, right? And then wrap up with the audience. How you maintain your visual aids, will come to that in a minute. Your choice of visual aids. It is not necessary that you have a PowerPoint presentation. Even you can use a chart or a graph or something like that, something which you can use, which you want to. And last is how you handle questions. We are not getting into that too much. We'll just focus on this. So yeah, purposes of presentation I've already: to inform, instruct, inspire, demonstrate, entertain, persuade. These are generally broadly the category for presentations. Inform about a particular, say we had this COE, Center for Excellence, which was happening in our university. So they had visited us, and so we had created, the whole university in fact had created a huge PPT in which they had mentioned everything that the COE committee would like to know, and our registrar sir, Dr. Devan Joshi sir, had presented it before them. So it was informing about Charusar, it was informing about several things. So according to the PPT was made. Now instruct, that is what we do, teachers. We create PowerPoint presentations to instruct. To inspire, it could be a motivational speaker who is trying to do something. To demonstrate, you have a new software or you have something that you want to introduce to the company, like when Microsoft Teams was introduced in the university, we had all gone for the demonstration. There was a team from there when PEXA was introduced, or when the latest exam thing. I don't remember its name. It's in worldwide. I forgot its name. I'm sorry. But whatever it may be, a new software, a new technology. So I'm making a presentation to demonstrate it. So what do I need? It's not. I would need internet connection there, because if I need to demonstrate Microsoft Teams, I need internet connection. And my location is very important there. Do I have internet connection? I need to carry a dongle otherwise. I say, no, वहाँ internet connection होगा. Don't assume anything. Entertain, we generally don't use that. To persuade, yeah. So that is a client or it happens in placement talks and all. So they come and they give a PowerPoint presentation. So this I've already covered, so I'm not doing it. The only word which I can use for presentations is to prepare it carefully. You need to decide a topic, you need to narrow it down, and you need to research on it, and then prepare, and then again research on it. Who is your audience? Why are they there? And where are they from? It's very important that you have a heterogeneous audience, and you need to know what kind of a person. I have a very hilarious example about this. Hilarious in the sense it was hilarious for us, but it was really bad for the person who gave the presentation. We had this DAC that is called the something which is related to PhD. So we have to go and present our ideas. Every month we used to have DAC. So we used to go, the committee members used to sit in front of us and we used to say, okay sir, मैंने इतना काम किया है, इतना research बाकी है, इतना लिखना बाकी है, ये सब हम बताते हैं. We were all teachers at that point in time. We had all started teaching. So there was one faculty member in our group, is a friend of mine. उनको लगा कि ये चीज थोड़ा रंगीन बनाते हैं, चलो. So we all went, we gave our introduction, we gave all our details, and we said, okay, the RAC committee looked at it and said, okay, fine, go ahead. या फिर कहते थे नहीं ये काम अच्छा नहीं है, वो करो, ये करो. That was going on. Now when this guy got in front of the screen, he had some visuals and all these things in front of him. There was the DAC committee people sitting in front. The three very senior faculty professors were sitting in front of him. He just said, look at there's a photo or something he had kept on top. He said, okay, good morning everyone, and so sir, respected sir, and so I'm here to present my topic. And so he put it immediately. The first slide was an image. I don't know what image. I don't remember what image it was, but he put an image in it, and he said, can anyone tell me what this image is all about? Sir, ऐसे करके वो थोड़ा teaching mode में उसने शुरू किया. एक बार पूछा, दूसरी बार someone from the audience, we were all kind enough to him, हमें लगा कि वो ऐसा कर रहा है, तो we all started answering. Second was also an image, third was also an image. So This went on happening. He started to teach and we encouraged and so this one of the DAC members just lost it. He said, hey, listen. He called his name and said, please listen. We are not your students. Okay. We are here to help you improve on whatever presentation, research projects that you are doing. And so please come to the point. Don't play teacher here. We don't have the time for that. We have other 3 members to complete. So please be very brief with what you have to say. The pin drop silence. This person almost put it as a dar gaya. I'm telling it in a very somber tone, but he said it in a very rash tone because he felt that he time बिगाड़ रहा है. ऐसे खड़े खड़े क्या कर रहा है? मतलब I need you tell me the topic, you tell me the idea, we just go ahead. It's important who your audience is. Meaning, well, if you start with a joke, if you start with a story, you must be careful about who is sitting there in front of you. They might not like it. Like for example, many people like to make Sardar jokes, Punjab related jokes they like because that's so much of that. And every community based jokes are quite common, like Sindhis and Punjabis and all kinds of South Indians. I don't think there are jokes based on communities. But yes, you can make that. You should not, ideally it should not be on communities. But if you want to make it, be careful who is sitting in front of you. Ideally, you should not start with a joke or something like that because you don't know who is sitting and listening to you. Very simple. I'll give you a very another example, which is related, but it was not a presentation. We had a get together. Jisme someone was some very senior people were there, and we were discussing about. We were just get together because we are going to have a holiday. So what happened is that this man was sitting there. सब लोग एक दूसरे को बधाई दे रहे थे. दिवाली का टाइम था शायद. तो उस टाइम पे वो लोग almost at this time I was reminded of it. So this person just said कि हिंदू फेस्टिवल दिवाली के लिए सबको शुभकामनाएं. Something like that. Which is he stressed the word Hindu there. Now that audience had 3 Muslims, had many other people from different 2 Christians. So many people were there. He said that he is a senior member of the team. For a minute, we were all shocked because how can he emphasize on the word Hindu? Because here it's a multicultural crowd. What would others think? सोचेंगे क्या? और उसमें से 2 ऐसे लोग थे who were our clients, and they were one was from Afghanistan, the other was from Israel. They had a multicultural audience there. I mean, seriously, how would they think? They understood what they were trying. We were all wishing each other, but the ethnicity is a problem there, isn't it? They would definitely take wrong to it. So keep in mind what you're going to say. Keep a neutral tone whenever you're making a presentation. You can have very strong arguments, but if you're hinting at a particular community in a formal audience, then when in a formal presentation, generally in a formal presentation, you have to keep your tone and your behavior neutral, because otherwise you don't know what kind of audience is there in front of you. You're coming straight to how do we create PPTs. Now I've seen some of your teachers create PowerPoint presentations and other things. I've seen that it's completely text heavy. जो भी उनको कहना है सारा का सारा text will be on the slide. Don't do that. Just 6 lines per slide or 6 words or just that much is needed. Like the one that I've shown you right now. This is the maximum number of points that you can have on a PowerPoint slide. This is ये भी ज़्यादा है, लेकिन ये रखना है तो रख सकते हो. Just this is all. So it doesn't look wordy. I'll give you an example. It's from medicine. I'm sorry about that. See, this is how a slide is particularly written. There's a lot of text. And वो जो उसे बोलना चाहिए था वो सारा इसमें लिख रखा है. Now the same thing, if you read it carefully, the same thing can be written like this as well. Makes it much more better. It makes it much more easier to read, and it gives you so much to talk about. Say like in this previous slide that I showed you, इस slide में आपको लगेगा कि ये इसमें ये है कि I can read it. If you can read it, then why am I presenting it to you? Right? मैं क्यों present कर रहा हूँ? If you already have the data, if you already have everything in front of you in the front of a slide, then there is no need for a person to read it out. I can read it. I am educated. So what you're supposed to do when you make a presentation is this rule that it should be only points. Remaining, you need to talk and you need to explain. Generally, this is believed to be the number of, say, if you have making a 1-hour presentation, 60-minute presentation, the total number of slides is something like this, that it should be divided by 4. So if you say that I have a 5-minute presentation, I don't know how many slides will you have, because maybe not even one. But what we are planning is that don't overrun or overdo it in terms of slides. लोग बहुत सारे slides रखते हैं presentation में. I do that a bit, but that's for teaching purposes. But when you make a presentation before a client, the minimum slides should be used. It should be only around maximum to maximum 10 slides. This is one thing, but this calculation doesn't work everywhere. But if that, what I would say is an ideal size would be 10 to 12 slides, not more than that. Just 10 to 12, 10 slides would do easily. And that is minus the introduction and the conclusion slide. Introduction, you give all those details, who you are, what you are, where are you from, and all those things. But the main content of your PowerPoint presentation, not more than 10 slides. Right? That should be the maximum. This is ज़्यादा नहीं होना चाहिए. Regarding now coming to images, how do we use images? 1 image, 2 image, 4 images. Do you animate those images? You draw arrows to do it. So you need to be careful. Only 1 image per slide is acceptable actually. If you make more images, then it confuses the audience. Like this one. 4 images, and all are from science. But if you look at it, it gets just confusing. It's like a template, but it is a template, sorry. But it's confusing me. What should I look? What should I try to find? What should I try to understand from this? इसमें से क्या समझना चाहिए? Are you trying? What are you trying to say? इससे मैं देखता हूँ, before you start speaking, the audience will be looking at your PowerPoint presentation, and you put 4 images like this in front of them. Now all are in different directions. They are all science, but they are all in different directions. One is the world, the other is molecule, the third is respiratory, the fourth is again chemistry. So that is there. And animation. People use animation quite a lot to discuss several things and enhance the presentation and all. Use the transition sparingly, don't use animation. So you will read all those things which I mentioned. Now, generally, whenever we talk about it, there's something called rhetoric, which is that we have not discussed that too much in our classes, but yes, there are 3 things: ethos, pathos, and logos. Basically, ethos is how can I make my audience trust me? What can you do to make your audience trust you? So if you are a celebrity, then people might trust you. But if you're non-celebrity, what is the thing that you should do to make your audience trust you? Pathos is, of course, I need to make my audience feel something, emotions. And logos is logic. So these 3 things are there. And I end with this. We'll see a small TED talk right now, just 2-3 minutes, around 5-10 minutes of it, not more than that. But I would like to show it to you. Now, this is what I want you to remember. It should be expressive, not impressive. Your presentation should be expressive in nature. It should be able to express your ideas, your thoughts, everything, but not impressive. Line दिया रख दिया, color रख दिया, ऐसा करके बहुत colorful बना दिया, उससे presentations अच्छे नहीं होते. Content is important. What are you trying to say? What are points which you're trying to make? So that much is there. But we'll end by the speech which we are planning to give to. So I think we have Bill Gates' presentation on he gave it in 2015 regarding whether we are ready for the next pandemic, and he says that we are not ready for the next pandemic because of whatever reasons it may be. Some of you might have seen it, but we'll close by we'll close with the TED talk. Before I close, I have something to tell you regarding the presentation, the assignment that I'm going to give you. In this one, you're going to make a small PowerPoint presentation on a topic which you want to present on. So the topic you can choose. You can choose your topic. You can decide what you want to present on. It can be social, economical, technological, medicine, whatever you want to. So social issues, political issues, anything that you want to take and present on. So it's your take. You want to talk about technology, you can talk about technology. You want to talk about medicine, you can talk about medicine. You want to talk about very specific things, you can talk about that. Now I need the PowerPoint presentation, the PPT. There are 2 things to this. One is a PowerPoint presentation, and the other is an audio file of that presentation. Say, for example, you open the PPT in front of you, you talk about it as you record it. Say, okay, slide number 1, I'm talking about this करके आप जैसे हम लोग क्लास में प्रेजेंट करते हैं, PPT सामने होता है और प्रेजेंट करते हैं, ऐसा एक ऑडियो फाइल क्रिएट करना है. And you have to submit the book. So you have to create a PowerPoint presentation, a PPT of not more than 5 slides. So you can skip the conclusion slide. First one you can put out something like that. 5 to 6 slides is the maximum that I'm expecting of you. So that you have to give and that you have to submit. And along with that, you have to submit an audio file of you presenting that PowerPoint presentation. Now there is an easy way out, but I don't know how many of us would have the technology to use it. Like if you can upload, if you can use Google Meet or Zoom or anything, you can open that and put the presentation in front of you, share the presentation, and then record it, and then give that recorded file also to me. You don't need to do anything else. But we don't have, there are people who are in different parts of the country and different parts of the state, and so it's just difficult for you to do that. So हम क्या करते हैं, इसको we'll split it into two. Give me the PowerPoint presentation, give me an audio file of that presentation. An audio file, as I said, it's 5 minute, 5 slide. So not more than 3 to 4 minutes of speech. Say 5 minutes of speech, because first of all, it will be difficult for you to upload such a huge file onto the Google Classroom. It will be given your Google Classroom, so it will be difficult for you to do that. So because of that, we have restricted it to 5 minutes. So that's it. So a PowerPoint presentation on a topic of your choice, just 5 to 6 slides, not more than that, and an audio file in which you are explaining the presentation, explaining your presentation. That. तो ये दो चीजें मेरे पास आ जानी चाहिए. Tentatively, I am thinking of keeping the date by say 10th of November. तब तक आप दे सकते हो. You will have enough time, lot of time. So 10th of November तक मैं आपको date time दूंगा presentation के लिए. Now if any questions are there, you're free to post. Dhuval is here, so Dhuval, you can ask directly. But the others who see this video can post the queries on Teams, and I'll be happy to solve it for you. Now let's end by looking at the video. Actually, I want you to look at how Bill Gates has arranged the PowerPoint presentation in his TED Talk, and how he's trying to talk about several things. So, I want you to see that. That is why I had this thing, and we'll not see it entirely. It's around 10-20 minutes or so. We're not going to see the entire thing. We're going to see it only in parts. So yes, let it start, and then I'll share it in a minute. What happened? Hold on, just a sec. Something went wrong, just a minute.
When I was a kid, the disaster we worried about most was a nuclear war. That's why we had a barrel like this down in our basement filled with cans of food and water. When the nuclear attack came, we were supposed to go downstairs, hunker down, and eat out of that barrel. Today, the greatest risk of global catastrophe doesn't look like this. Instead, it looks like this. If anything kills over 10 million people in the next few decades, it's most likely to be a highly infectious virus rather than a war. Not missiles, but microbes. the reason for this is that we have invested a huge amount in nuclear deterrence. But we've actually invested very little in a system to stop an epidemic. We're not ready for the next epidemic. Let's look at Ebola. I'm sure all of you read about it in the newspaper. Lots of tough challenges. I followed it carefully through the case analysis tools we use to track polio eradication. And as you look at what went on, the problem wasn't that there was a system that didn't work well enough. The problem was that we didn't have a system at all. In fact, there are some pretty obvious key missing pieces. We didn't have a group of epidemiologists ready to go who would have gone, seen what the disease was, see how far it had spread. The case reports came in on paper. It was very delayed before they were put online, and they were extremely inaccurate. We didn't have a medical team ready to go. We didn't have a way of preparing people. Now, Medicine Sans Frontières did a great job orchestrating volunteers, but even so, we were far slower than we should have been getting the thousands of workers into these countries. And a large epidemic would require us to have hundreds of thousands of workers. There was no one there to look at treatment approaches, no one to look at the diagnostics, no one to figure out what tools should be used. As an example, we could have taken the blood of survivors, processed it, and put that plasma back in people to protect them, but that was never tried. So there was a lot that was missing, and these things are really a global failure. The WHO is funded to monitor epidemics, but not to do these things I talked about. Now in the movies, it's quite different. There's a group of handsome epidemiologists ready to go. They move in, they save the day, but that's just pure Hollywood. The failure to prepare could allow the next epidemic to be dramatically more devastating than Ebola. Let's look at the progression of Ebola over this year. About 10,000 people died, and nearly all were in the 3 West African countries. There's 3 reasons why it didn't spread more. The first is there was a lot of heroic work by the health workers. They found the people and they prevented more infections. The second is the nature of the virus. Ebola does not spread through the air. And by the time you're contagious, most people are so sick that they're bedridden. Third, it didn't get into many urban areas, and that was just luck. If it had gotten into a lot more urban areas, the case numbers would have been much larger. So next time we might not be so lucky. You can have a virus where people feel well enough while they're infectious that they get on a plane or they go to a market. The source of the virus could be a natural epidemic like Ebola, or it could be bioterrorism. And so there are things that would literally make things 1,000 times worse. In fact, let's look at a model of a virus spread through the air like the Spanish flu back in 1918. So here's what would happen. It would spread throughout the world very, very quickly. And you can see there's over 30 million people die from that epidemic. So this is a serious problem. We should be concerned. But in fact, we can build a really good response system. We have the benefits of all the science and technology that we talk about here. We've got cell phones to get information from the public and get information out to them. We have satellite maps where we can see where people are and where they're moving. We have advances in biology that should dramatically change the turnaround time to look at a pathogen and be able to make drugs and vaccines that fit for that pathogen. So we can have tools, but those tools need to be put into an overall global health system, and we need preparedness. The best lessons, I think, on how to get prepared are, again, what we do for war. For soldiers, we have full-time, waiting to go. We have reserves that can scale us up to large numbers. LEO has a mobile unit that can deploy very rapidly. NATO does a lot of war games to check, are people well trained? Do they understand about fuel and logistics and the same radio frequencies? So they're absolutely ready to go. So those are the kinds of things we need to deal with an epidemic. What are the key pieces? First is we need strong health systems in poor countries. That's where mothers can give birth safely, kids can get all their vaccines, but also where we'll see the outbreak very early on. We need a medical reserve corps. Lots of people who've got the training and background who are ready to go with the expertise. And then we need to pair those medical people with the military, taking advantage of the military's ability to move fast, do logistics, and secure areas. We need to do simulations, germ games, not war games, so that we see where the holes are. The last time a germ game was done in the United States was back in 2001, and it didn't go so well. So far the score is germs 1, people 0. Finally, we need lots of advanced R&D in areas of vaccines and diagnostics. There are some big breakthroughs like adeno-associated virus that could work.
Okay. So largely he said what now he'll be building on that as we go ahead. So this is it. So I think you might have got an idea as to how the PowerPoint presentation looked, how he was able to say that. So it's a good TED talk, the way in which data, very few text, very less text, more of infographics. So that is how a good PowerPoint presentation looks like. So that's all. I'll be sharing once this class gets over. I'll be sharing the assignment on Google Classroom because you cannot have it here because of numbers. And then you have time till say 10th because I think your exams begin on 11th or 12th because it's too closer. So one thing which you can do is that I'll give you maximum time that I can give you is till 9th or 10th. I'll be keeping it on 9th as the last date of submission for the PowerPoint presentation. The details will be sent to you or shared with you within some time. Yes, so though there is no one around in this place as of now except you, Ruben, it is a pleasure to be a part of this class for so many days. It was a great, I don't know, but I really liked the way in which things went. And yes, you've been able to submit assignments as well with several things that are happening. So happy Diwali, happy New Year to you in advance, all of you in advance, and all the best for the exams. The details of how your exams would be, what are the things that you need to look at, those will be shared with you soon as we go ahead. Everything will be shared with you, the question bank, the presentation, the material, everything regarding to the classroom will be shared with you as you in the coming days. So yes, thank you very much for being patient students and listening carefully. Bye, and all the best for your exams.